what's up, everybody? This is Gary Holt from Exodus and formerly from Slayer, and you're listening to The Razor's Edge.
Welcome back to The Razor's Edge. I'm joined by the incredible Björn from Night Flight Orchestra ahead of their new album, Give Us the Moon, which drops on January 31st. Thank you so much for joining me, dude. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and thanks for having me.
Always, buddy. So I guess the obvious question I really wanted to start with basically is, how did this all come to be? How did musicians from Soilwork, Arch Enemy, Mean Streak end up coming together to make really fun music that's very different from what people might associate from you guys from your other projects?
Good question. I think it all started when I met David Andersson, who's no longer with us, sadly. But we started the band, and we met for the first time in 2007 on tour. He was the session guitar player for Soilwork in North America, and we quickly started bonding over music. 70s, 80s stuff mostly, and everything around it, the aesthetics, music, the songwriting, the performances, and whatnot. And at the end of that tour, we were sitting in the back lounge every day, drinking beer and listening to great music, looking out the window, being in motion, and over North America. It was quite special. And in the end of that tour, we decided we wanted to start a band that sort of captures 70s and 80s music and provide or create a band that provides sort of like a soundtrack of being in motion, like sort of like a road trip soundtrack, and it was one of those drunken ideas that became reality, and I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, definitely.
And we wanted to create. We also felt that there was wanted to fill a void out there. We felt there was something missing, and I think it was also very much of a calling, something that we were longing to do. David was doing all kinds of stuff. I had mostly done metal, and I think I wanted to do something different as well, something very different. And then me and him started brainstorming around it, and then it took some time for us to find the right people, and then we got together for the first time in 2009 or 10, and it was just magical from the get-go. It was just I don't know, something happened there, and we felt that there was something special from the get-go, and then we had, Charlie D'Angelo as well playing bass in the band, and I think he was also very much longing to do something completely different. He had been doing, Arch Enemy for quite some time, and he's been doing Merciful Fate, all kinds of stuff, but man, he can play a mean disco bass. and I think he was aching to do that, So I think it started maybe a bit as an experiment, but it quite quickly became a real band and something that we felt like we wanted to share with the world, and so it runs very deep, maybe on at a first glance it might seem like just a it's a bunch of metal guys trying to sound like Foreigner or whatever. It runs a lot deeper than that,
Yeah, awesome, dude. So
Yep.
where did that what is it that you love about the kind of the 70s, 80s music and style that made you really want to start a band like this?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the melodies. It's like the way people are playing, and it's very organic, and it's very playful too. It's like some of those bands and artists, they could have one, like on the same album, they could have a reggae song, and the next song is like a 7.5 minute progressive rock song, and nobody cared. Like, that's like, okay, that's fine, and these days I just feel like everything needs to be so labeled and stick to one thing, and so I think that is another thing that we wanted to carry on a tradition that we felt got lost somewhere along the way, and especially at late 70s and early 80s, there was something special about that. 77 to 83, that's my favorite sort of pockets right there in the music scene. But obviously it was going to be something very nostalgic, but it's also a tradition, and that we're that we sort of taken into current times. At least we would like to think so, because it's so much more than just being nostalgic, and a lot of people say it's like, wow, I didn't even know I missed this kind of music, and it's somehow it sounds very refreshing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the reaction we want, because we need to look forward somehow. It can't just be like, oh, this sounds exactly like when I was a kid, and that's it, and there is that, and I think that's a strong bond right there. It brings me back to when I was a kid, very much, and yeah, but it's there's that balance, and I think we're we have a pretty unique take on it.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Cool. So, as I mentioned at the start, you guys are about to release your new album, Give Us the Moon, at the end of this month. I've been fortunate enough to hear it a few times already, and it's absolutely amazing, dude. Right up there with your best work. So, when did you guys start work on this one?
I would say about 2.5 years ago. I mean, obviously, with the passing of David Andersson, that was a really tough blow, both on a personal level and on a musical level, and we needed time to grieve, and sort of regroup and find the joy in the music again, and try to turn it into something creative again, and he is very, very missed, obviously, and but I don't know, me and him had this conversation when right before he passed, and for him it was only natural that we would continue without him, because he also felt that there's so much more to say, and that the journey has only is far from over. So but it was not easy. He was a very unique songwriter. His expression was very unique, fantastic musician, and quite a visionary. So we had to sort of, we've been a part of his world for quite some time, and we had to take that with us, and somehow channel all that into the new material as well. So he was very present, but yeah, I think we did a really good job, and I think we've done everything we possibly could do to make the best album. I mean, it feels like we've done everything. So that's a very satisfying feeling in itself, and hopefully David can hear it somehow, and we wanted to make him proud, and we wanted to make ourselves proud, and show all the doubters out there that we can definitely pull this off still.
Yeah.
So it was but it's been quite a long journey. It has.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Was it daunting at first approaching songwriting since David had passed?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit scary, and of course, there's always going to be some kind of self doubt. Like, can we really pull this off? And I mean, me and Sebastian have written a lot of songs in the past as well, and but David also had a very unique, way of writing, and quite often pretty melancholic stuff too, and his lyrics grew darker and darker for every year, and it kind of reflected where he was at, in his mind, and that was also kind of hard to witness, and so I think we also wanted to create something more uplifting and comforting in the end, and somehow empowering, and I guess it became a bit of a reaction to that sort of dark things that we witnessed with him, which was where you felt really powerless, and not being able to do anything really, and more than just being there. But yeah, I mean, there was some doubts, of course, and especially like, can we enter that same studio again? Is it going to feel weird? And it felt empty at first, but then quite quickly, we found the joy again, started remembering so many, good times with David. We can all sort of see him walking through the corridors of the studio in his underwear, drinking beer, like he always used to do, and we were laughing at that. And so he was kind of there with us in a way, so it became a big celebration in the end, and I think you can definitely hear that,
Oh yeah, yeah, for
when
sure.
listening to this album.
Yeah, amazing. I was intrigued in the press pack that I got for this album. It describes the songs as balancing between uplifting escapism and captivating stories inspired by
Mm.
real life events. I was wondering if you could expand on that a little bit. What sort of real life events are we talking here?
Yeah, there's a bunch of things, in there, there's Paloma, which is a song about a stewardess, real life stewardess, who's a good friend of me and my wife's, and she started dating a pilot, and that pilot turned out to be not very nice and treated her really bad, and she kept coming back to him, and we got really, really frustrated. And in the end, I had to write a song about it, and that became Paloma. So it's kind of her liberation song, somehow. And I wrote the lyric on a flight home from Alicante. About what is it? A year ago, 1.5 years ago, we played a festival there with Night Flight Orchestra, and on the way home, on the flight, there's a stewardess named Paloma, and it's like, that's the name. That's just the song. And I started writing the whole lyric in the air on the way home, and then you know I composed a song around it, and yeah, that became that song. So it's a real special song, for sure. And as Runaways, I used to live in Toronto for 4 years. Moved back in 2015, and I have not really been back that much since. And I love the city, loved everything, you know, about it, and it was just a relationship that didn't work out, and it became sort of my makeup song with a city somehow, and a little bit of a tribute as well. So that became Runaways. So there's a lot of connections to real life stories. There's also Melbourne May I, which is about when. It's also a tribute to Melbourne, but also the Aussie crowd overall, and how I got to know that my mom had breast cancer when we were on our way to Australia. We landed in connecting in Dubai, and I got the call. She had breast cancer, and then flying to the other side of the world was really tough in a situation like that, and had to stay strong through that tour, and it kind of culminated. In Melbourne, where we had a fantastic crowd. The whole tour was amazing, but it really reached new sort of heights in Melbourne, and I felt like I was surrounded by family, and I kind of broke down after keeping it together, and yeah, I felt like I had to write something about it, and that became Melbourne Maya, and my mom is fine, knock knock knock, and so yeah. Everything's good. So yeah, there's a few examples. There's also more sort of fiction on the album, really trippy stuff like Cosmic Tide, and we like to work with these contrasts, like real life stories and kind of more trippy stuff full of escapism. So I think that creates something interesting.
Yeah, incredible. It really comes across on the album. It's a really fun album with lots of different stuff going on front to back.
Yeah.
It's the 13 tracks long, but absolutely flew by for me. So
okay,
that's
cool.
a win.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think you guys are really well known for is your infectiously fun live shows. I know over here in the UK, you've kind of become firm favourites at Bloodstock Festival, playing there a few times. Basically,
yes.
we love it every time you come over to do that one. I'm curious, are UK audiences different to other audiences?
Good question. We still have not played that much in the UK. I mean, we've done London Underworld once or twice, and then once Underworld, and then we played on the COVID tour, in 20, where it got cut short after 1 week. Well, I can't remember the venue now. But we played twice in London, and then we've been doing Bloodstock. So it's kind of hard to tell exactly how. I mean, I've done shows obviously in the UK many times with Soilwork, but with the Night Flight Orchestra, I mean, it's a really fun crowd, and people are really like dressing up a lot, and I saw at least 10 versions of myself in the crowd, which is just amazing. So I don't know, you guys like to have fun, it's it's people like to party in the UK, and it's usually a really, really good time. I'm just looking forward to do maybe more shows in the UK, and we love London and we love Bloodstock, but we should do more. So we're
Yeah, for
looking into
sure.
that. Mm.
Yeah, brilliant. What inspired the airline look for the band?
Well, I mean, it became a thing. I mean, obviously with the name, the Night Flight Orchestra, it was sort of bound to happen, and I really wanted to have backup singers, and that's also sort of like a lost tradition. All artists and bands had backup singers back in the day, and even when you go back to the 90s, even Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue had backup singers, and that somewhere that got lost because people wanted to make more money or something. I don't know, but which is understandable. It's not easy to tour. Tour buses are just crazy expensive these days, and people want to cut down on costs. But anyways, we wanted to deliver a real rock show the way it was meant to be, with backup singers and everything, and then working on the concept. We wanted to have a full concept with the airline thing. We wanted to romanticize traveling, obviously a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek in there, but still balanced. It's not going to be a farce. So I think it just makes it takes the show to a whole new dimension, and we're really serious about our music, but I think I love bands that have the full concept, and this is something that we can do. There are really no boundaries to what we can do with this band and its concept. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Is it quite refreshing performing live to music that is so joyous, fun, carefree, as opposed to, I mean, not necessarily in metal, you have to stay super serious all the time, but it doesn't necessarily allow you to let go in the same way. Is that quite nice to have the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like to have both, because I feel like with soul work and in the metal world, I'm sort of in a cage in a way, but I also can appreciate that. You work with what you have, and I think soul work has been really good at developing extreme metal in our own way, and that's something I'm proud of. And then Night Flight is sort of more like an open field. It's like kind of anything goes band, and that doesn't always mean that it's going to turn out great, but most of the times I feel it does, So it's I don't know. I feel like I have the best of both worlds. I really feel like these two bands represent me in a really good way, like who I am as a person. So it's the switch is quite easy, I would say.
Yeah, okay, cool. Speaking of live shows, though, you guys are about to embark on a massive European tour. Any
Yeah.
day now, I think that starts. Moon over Europe begins on the 30th of January, if I've got that right. With your London show on the 31st, on the 1st, sorry.
Yeah.
So if people are heading out to see you guys for the first time, how would you describe a Night Flight Orchestra show? What can people expect?
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's always the toughest to describe. I mean, you just have to witness it. I mean, it's a very fun show for sure, and but I would say there's so much like emotion in the air too. Like it really takes you on a journey, just like our albums, and yeah, I think we have the perfect setting. I think we communicate really well with the crowd, and they feel very sort of engaged in what we're doing, and I think these songs, I mean, if you like the songs, listening to our albums, wait till you see us live. I think they also, uh, bring a whole new dimension to the whole thing. When you see us live, it's really special. And I've only seen people just having a big smile on their face when we're done at the end of the night, and it's really cool to see people from different backgrounds and coming to our shows. That's very much of a unifying factor. A lot of people showing up on our shows that normally wouldn't go to the same show. So it's like, at the end of the night, most people are dancing. So I mean, it's just really special. So yeah, come and see us.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
It's the One England show, so everyone watching, make sure you get on that one. Cool. So with the new album nearly here, just got one final question. Is there one song that hasn't come out yet that you're really excited for people to finally get to listen to?
I mean, I would say that it's not going to be a single, but I think one of the biggest challenges of this album was to write an epic song, like a really long song that was sort of like a tradition that David always took care of. There was always bound to be one really epic song on each album, and with him not being here anymore, I felt like I had to, take over that tradition, and that was a really big challenge for me because I normally don't write very long songs, but and that became Stewardess Empress, Hot Mess, and the Captain of Pain. That's a real special song to me, and I'm not quite sure how it all came together, but it did, and it turned out really cool, and it's one of those songs that I'm the most proud of, in my musical career, I would say, and it felt like he was very present, almost to a point. It's like, wait a minute, it's like it's like, how did I play this? I don't know how it came together, but it did, and just a fantastic experience, and something to be proud of. And I think people are really gonna like that song as well. It has so many twists and turns, and will take you on a journey in itself.
I thought it was amazing. Great song to close the album. It's an amazing one. Cool.
Thank you.
So, no worries, buddy. And that's all I've got. Thank you so much again for joining me, buddy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Likewise.
I'll reiterate for people watching, Night Flight Orchestra's new album, Give Us the Moon, drops on January 31st. Make sure you check it out and maybe get tickets for the upcoming tour. I've been Chris for The Razor's Edge. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with all of our interviews by subscribing to our channel. For all the latest news, reviews, interviews, and more, head over to our website, www.therazorsedge.rocks.